Good afternoon, and you with Real Talk on SABC3, where the stage is yours. I sincerely hope that you are enjoying what's left of your Freedom Day. I am about to add a cherry on top. The first time I was introduced to my guest today was during my maternity leave, and somebody sent me her book. So, I started reading it, and I was like, oh my word, I love the way she writes. I want to know her. We're best friends already. Subsequently, she's written 2 more books. So I thought we must have her in studio. She is a writer. She's an editor. She is a mom. She is a wife. She is everything, and that is why she's on the couch. Her name is Pamela Power, not Powers, because then you'd be related to PJ Powers, eh?
And everybody actually used to think I was related to PJ Powers.
Really? So they'd be like, please sing in Zulu for us.
And I could.
If you say things like that,
I know.
I'm like, okay, all right.
From my days of doing AIDS education in what was called Zululand, yeah.
Oh, wow. You do things that show your age, right? When you say things like, when I used to watch Kidio, or when I used to work in Zululand.
And you're like, and the ox wagon.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. When we used to fetch water from the river and then sterilize it outside.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, when you fetched it from the,
So I want to know from you, because, you are just like a writer extraordinaire, evidently. And this is why I wanted to have you here, because on Real Talk, we like to speak to people who do everything so that people watching can realize that you really can find your pocket of life and sunshine in everything. We don't all have to follow the same, stream. And did you grow up in a house that had books everywhere?
Not necessarily. We went to the library a lot. I grew up in Zim, in Harare, and going to the library, it was actually tough to get books. And books were really expensive. So we spent a lot of time at the library. But I think, like, my folks were big readers. Okay. I think that is a hugely important thing.
Now, I'm asking personally, sorry, I use this platform sometimes to get my own information out. So I want my son to grow up reading a lot.
Oh, honey.
When
you see me looking tired already.
When do I, show him the books and bring him into the book thing? Because obviously it was done for you.
And my house now is full of books. Do you think I have a son who reads?
No.
Oh, no. Oh,
TV
no.
games.
Yes. Loves that computer.
iPad, cell phones.
And in fact, at his prep school, they did this wonderful thing where they had competitions. So he would read a huge amount of books because they used to get a big chocolate and they used to get called up at assembly. So
incentives.
Anything, typical Joburg child. What is in it for me?
Okay. Typical South African child. You should go into politics. So
no, that would be my daughter.
Okay, we'll get to her later. So you're growing up and your parents are big readers. Are they aware that, they are, molding and manifesting somebody who's going to be a really good writer later in life?
When we moved to South Africa, I wanted to go to the art, ballet and music school. And my father was like,
you want to dance?
I don't think so. Yeah, like, for what? And so packed me off to Sacred Heart College, and you didn't do drama or anything, and so I think I got 23% for what was called ad maths in those days. So they sort of made me, I had to give it up. Sort of expressed my don't want to be doing this.
So early on, she's not going to be a doctor. No.
And yes, then I went to university and I did drama. But my parents the whole time, it was like, well, this will be a lovely hobby for you. It's going to be a lovely hobby. And I was like, we'll see about that. So, my parents were not thrilled about the idea of me going into the arts at all.
At 10 years old, what did you want to be, though?
Probably a dancer at 10. So it veered between a dancer, then it was an actress when I got bored of ballet. And then, funnily enough, you know how you go, I don't know if they still do, I'm talking 30 years ago. You go to that person who, like a career guidance.
Social counselor
type person.
What do they call it? Life skills. In my high school, they called it life skills.
Well, whatever. So you do that before varsity. And he actually said to me, you should be a writer. But you couldn't actually take a degree in creative writing at that point. So drama, I always had loved drama. I could study dance. We had a wonderful dance department at Maritzburg Varsity. So I sort of got to do everything I wanted to do. but you couldn't take creative writing. So, I mean, I only did my master's in creative writing, and we were part of the first intake at Wits. In, gosh, when was it? 2000 and whatever.
So I always say that people who speak, a lot of languages are more colorful, so they are more creative because, languages have got nuances in it so that you can layer your execution of art or words and all of that. It also applies if you've lived in a lot more places than just, one country. You've lived in Zimbabwe and South Africa. Do you think that layers you in a way?
Oh, I think totally. Language-wise, I hate to disappoint you, but I sort of speak 3 words. I studied French for 5 years or whatever it was, and I still remember my French oral sitting there going, oui, oui, je ne sais pas, using my hands a lot because I
That's
actually
how
didn't
French
have,
people speak.
yeah, sort of, making my mouth, but
Oui, oui.
no idea what the woman was saying, nothing.
Okay, so, but I mean, the countries one, unpack that for me. Like, what do you know you took from Zimbabwe that contributes to who you are today, and what do you know that you take?
Well, I'll tell you something so fascinating. When I first started working on Muvhango, because obviously I'm the script editor there, I could tell with Chivenda the similarities with Shona, and I did also study Shona for 5 years when I was a kid. Can say mangwana ni, darara say, that's about it. But, like I could pick up the musicality of the language. And I think also just some of those cultural influences. Because, I've lived in Harare, I've lived in Bulawayo, Joburg, Maritzburg, and my father was Irish. So I also have that background as well.
And and I know people are wondering, okay, so you came out as a writer. What did your mom do? What did your dad do?
No, my dad just worked at was a manager at a department store, and my mum was a housewife and was sort of big in the church and was the church secretary and that sort of stuff. She was a fabulous dancer in her day. She used to tap
Although she
dance.
didn't study it like you did.
No.
You see, I mean, I imagine you at a party, people like, can you dance? You're like,
Can I?
can I dance? I studied dance. Listen, as you can see, this is gonna be rip-roaring. It continues after the break. And on your Freedom Day, you're back with Real Talk on 3. On the couch today, writer, script, editor, mother, wife, 3 books, overachiever perhaps. I heard you used to do comedy.
Did you hear that from Ms. Tumi Marake?
Yes, I did. Tell me about that. And why don't you do it anymore?
Because it's scary.
I know, can I tell you?
I'd rather do natural childbirth.
I even wrote the scariest place on earth, comedy. I've been on stage.
I love that with the...
Yeah, I've been on stage. It's scary, but it's when you get it right. Is it not rewarding?
It is the best feeling on earth when you have those shows where the audience is just with you. But you know what? I think I get my fix now with my book stuff.
Okay, so that's because most comedians say it's like a high, when you get the people to sway with you.
Okay, but now, listen, the converse side, when you die on stage, and I have died on stage in front of my agent, and nothing on this earth can actually compare to that. Oh, except I also died on stage when my uncle, who had studied to be a priest, came to watch my stand-up comedy piece on being Catholic, and it was quite rude.
Okay.
And they didn't tell me he was coming. And I spotted him while I was on stage in the audience, and I was like a goldfish going, Yeah.
What was it? Was there like a disapproving look from his side?
No, it was a subject matter that I was dealing with that I shan't talk about
on primetime television,
because I don't think either of us will have jobs after this.
My manager's like, stop it. Don't let her talk anymore.
Don't let her say that.
Now, here's the thing. I'm going to draw parallels here between comedy and writing. So with comedy, like you say, there's specific people who can be in an audience that you don't want them to see you on stage. When you write, who's the one person you don't like to give your stuff to whilst you're in the process of creating, but you're more than happy for them to take it when you've, finished the product?
Oh, no, I don't think there is. There are plenty of people I don't want to read my work at all, and it's basically, people from my parents' church. Even though, I'm 48 years old, they're 70, but I'm still little Pamela, you know,
Yes.
at church, and I still don't want them to.
So you don't even want them to read it, period?
No.
Like, ever?
And please don't tell me you've read it either.
Oh, gosh, I hear what you're saying. Do your parents think that you finally have a real job?
My parents both passed away.
Okay.
So I think they did, though, at the end. Sadly, they never got to read my work. Actually, as my mother was dying, I did give her a copy to read. I think of Misconception. I think she maybe read like a couple of pages.
So she passed away recently because
Misconception... No, because don't forget Misconception
was
had
re-released.
A very long journey.
Okay. Okay. So you released it when, and then because I know.
So yes, so it was released. It's very confusing. It was released digitally in 2012.
Okay.
By Random House, so Random Stroke or whatever, at their digital imprint, and then Penguin and Random House merged, and then they decided to release it in print in 2015. So this sort of journey, it's been a crazy journey since 2015.
Yeah.
So I had been writing all these. So I look like so impressive. It's like, girl, you like
3
write
books in 3 years?
And I have to go.
Stop it, J.K. Rowling.
Yeah.
Like,
I wish I had her bank balance.
I know, right? Or from a few kids who fly in broomsticks. Sorry, Harry Potter fans, I really don't mean it.
Yes, apologies, Joanne McGregor. I'm going to be like lynched after this.
Listen. So how did you crack it into writing for TV? Because you did have I don't want to say stint, you did write for Top Billing as well.
I directed for Top Billing. I use the term so loosely, though, because I was the worst director ever. And I think they were so happy to wave me goodbye. I really had no clue what I was doing. I've had lots of jobs where I sort of no idea what I was doing. And
what?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Now I have to stop here. This is like a pit stop, and let's get snacks. How did you start directing Top Billing? What is it? Did you not like relate to a life of opulence?
Okay, now yes. So I tried like on the one thing to film homeless people. I thought like homeless people, we should be filming homeless people for this segment. And people were like, this is like a top-end show. This is not... And then I knew...
It's not special assignment.
It wasn't, yeah. And I was so much more special assignment. And they were like... And again, I can't sort of talk about the show. The V monologues, you know the show?
Okay, yes.
I was supposed to film that and without ever having the word V mentioned.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I didn't film any of the show. And then I got back and they were like, but you haven't filmed any of the show. You just did everything in the background. I said, because you didn't want me to mention the word.
Sorry, I'm stuck on the homeless people. It's like, so I'm going to shoot homeless people for Top Billing. They're like, so are they homeless because their 100 million rent house is being renovated? And they currently...
Are they decluttering their lives?
Do you know what I'm saying?
Like millionaires decluttering.
Which part of this? So back to the original question before I got sidetracked. How did you crack it into TV?
You know, I just have a habit of going, oh, I think I need to do that.
Okay.
So I had my kids, I was doing a lot of lecturing, I had my own industrial theatre company, and it wasn't really working. I was lecturing at Wits, I was doing these afternoon lectures, I had a small child, and I was like, oh, no, I think I must go and write for TV now. And then... And of course, it's the mommy mafia. It was my son's kinder music teacher, was related to the Starks, who produced Generations. And she came to see the play I wrote for my master's, Oh Baby, that Tumi was in. And she went, no, I hate the play, but I think you're a good writer. Please, will you come and write for Generations? So I just went and started writing for Generations. And it was really tough. I mean, it makes it, you know, I make it sound easy, but it was, I didn't know what I was doing.
Because, I mean, you mentioned earlier that you did Muvhango. You are on Muvhango now. You're the script editor. And then you did Generations. And now, which brings in, like, the longest debate that happens with South African TV is that, you know, you are working on Generations and you're writing, but you're white, but Generations is like predominantly 98%, unless you Paul Bugbee. You know, do you remember it was on Generations? It's predominantly a black show. So how do you merge that? How do you reconcile that? How do you write for black characters when you're white?
You know what? That is not a difficulty I have had at all. And for me, I mean, obviously we have Generations is sort of it has a different style to Muvhango. Muvhango is like more traditional,
very traditional.
And funny enough, that is where I totally slot in. So obviously we have fantastic cultural advisors on Muvhango, and I have made some shocking mistakes in my time there. Well, like we had this one thing of like this child chasing a butterfly, and like in Venda, that's a sign of madness. Like we think, oh, that's so
That's
sweet.
so beautiful.
And Prof. Indebo was like, it's not going to read like that because our belief is...
They're slaughtering a goat for that child.
Yeah, that child, we're doing a cleansing ceremony immediately.
Yeah.
But funny enough, I found a lot of similarities between my Irish Catholic background and Venda. So a lot of the things with the uncles, you know, they can be so harsh the way they speak and so similar to the sort of aunties and uncles I know.
Because there's that element that if you're older, you're allowed to say anything to a younger person, and they must deal
absolutely
with
rude.
it.
You know, I mean, the first time I met my Irish grandmother, she went, "Pamela's a very common name." That was her greeting, and we had to call her grandmother.
Grandmother's also a common name, you should have said to her.
Exactly, but I was too like dumbstruck. You know, I had expected this sort of no, and you didn't call her granny. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we go to a break, I want to ask you, what shows do you watch to get total envy?
At the moment, I'm watching Big Little Lies.
We'll be back. You will be forgiven for thinking that Pamela and I have known each other for years. We met today, but we met before in another sort of way. When I was on maternity leave, I said this earlier, somebody gave me her book, Misconception, and I started reading it, and then it was just like, you know, as our president says, we're like this. Me and her, we were like this. So I want to talk about misconception, because I tweeted you, because I found you on Twitter.
We met each other on Twitter.
Because I was reading it, and then I found you on Twitter, and I was like...
Also, my daughter tweets you all the time.
Oh,
so
really?
Ruby, you know, she's forever tweeting.
Okay, it's a family affair, you stalkers.
We are total stalkers.
I want to talk about...
We've been the ones who've been leaving the stuff on your doorstep. No, only kidding.
The photo frames?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The dead flowers. No, kidding.
No, the restraining order's on the way to your house.
On the way.
Right after this. I want to talk about misconceptions. So you say it's had a long journey. Digitally released in 2012 and then re-released in 2015. How close is that based on your life?
Oh, very close. It's so based on a lot of my experiences, but I find what you do with these books is you start off with an idea, and then those characters just they're totally ungovernable, actually.
Yes.
And then they just have a life of their own, and they take you. So I used things like both of my children were born in water. So things like that, I would, you know, and obviously the script writing, but then it just gets totally ridiculous, and I won't do a spoiler about the end, but obviously nothing like that happened at Ruby's christening.
Oh, no, really?
Were you hoping that a special thing had been...
My next question is, let's talk about Ruby's christening, the spicy placenta plate. Did you really do that in real life?
No.
So where do you go to find a storyline like that? Because now, you know, it's two things. Either your life is really crazy or you have lots of voices in your head.
Many voices.
Okay.
Often, like with my poor husband, I will just start talking to him about a character and I'll go, but now, what if I make that person a movie producer? Do you think that will... And he'll be sitting there like, what are you talking about? Because I think he's following like the storyline that, you know, of my new novel. And so the voices are quite loud.
So is he your soundboard? Do you bounce off him?
Yes, a lot of ideas.
So
he's very patient.
Very patient. And obviously doesn't have any other TV to watch. What do you watch on TV? I just watch my wife. She's like 900 channels all in one.
Yes.
So what's the process to getting a book deal? Do you go to them? Do they come to you?
Oh, no. Oh, my Lord. No, you have to send out. And there's a lot of, you know, thank heavens I trained as a performer. I was used to rejection because you have to have a very thick skin because you know, get rejected over and over again and you have to just keep on at it. I think now, though, with self-publishing, people can do their own thing. You know, if you don't get a publishing deal, you can actually make it happen for yourself. So,
but obviously there are cons in that with the fact that you self-publish, but then you don't have the inroads to publicity things and getting yourself in prime position at bookstores?
Oh, no, come on. Obviously, having a publisher...
It's a machine.
Because I was, at that point, going to self-publish. And just having to convert that manuscript to HTML, I was like, high-pitched whining noise in the head? I don't think so. And then, luckily, I got the publishing deal, because otherwise I don't think it would have happened. You've got to be a certain kind of person, I think, that can do that.
And then you wrote 2 books afterwards. Is that still part of the same deal, or because you proved yourself with the first?
No, because they did not... Penguin didn't like Things Unseen, because it was such a
change in direction.
A change from Misconception. And that was because I had not been published by the time I started Things Unseen in 2010.
Before you released Misconception?
Before I released Misconception. So I was having a go at something else. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So Penguin didn't like that, but then luckily Clockwork Books loved it, so they released it. So that's why I've got this crazy situation. So I was writing 2 books at once. I was writing, well, in fact, Misconception hadn't been released. I started writing Things Unseen, 2010. Then I have this habit of going, okay, I think this is rubbish. Let me start something else. So I write 20,000 words, then I'm like, no, let me start something else.
And you're still working as a writer elsewhere?
Yes.
So.
Absolutely. I'm still working. I'm still, editing 6 scripts and writing a script a week.
So then, which brings me to that balance question that people only ask women and not men.
I like the way you just started that in.
I know.
And it's not even Women's Day.
Do you know? I get this. I never got the balance question in my life, and then I gave birth, and then all of a sudden...
Were you balanced?
Obviously, I was...
Yes, baby on each hip.
How do you balance it all, being a mother and a wife and a career woman?
But you just want to say, well, actually, I suck at them all. But...
Do you know what I'm saying? But so honestly, do you have like strict... Because what I find is I have friends who write, and they say that if you don't have like strict rules for yourself, that I write between this time and that time and I do this, you're never going to get anything done. But also writing is such a creative thing that can you channel it when you have diarized it for it to happen?
You have to. Oh. You absolutely have to. That is half the thing about finishing your book, is getting your butt on that seat and writing. And whether it is complete nonsense or not, you write. I mean, you'll often see me tweeting, oh, I've just written 3,000 words of complete and utter nonsense. But you have to do it. And I think the thing is, because I am a scriptwriter and script editor, I have those deadlines every week and I have to get it out. And I know that you have to get it down because you can only edit once you've got it done. So I think that is my advice for writers, any writers watching the show. You have to get it down. Again, I cannot use the word, but it's like bad first draft that you see me tweeting about. So, yeah.
So then there is a misconception when...
I see what you did there.
What?
Misconception.
The worst thing is I didn't see it. And now I'm upset with myself. So then there's like a misconception when it comes to writing that and arts in general and just being creative, that people think that there isn't a discipline.
Muse. The muse is coming.
Yes.
Watch the muse.
Yes, this is my cry. Is that
still watching, looking for the muse.
There's a discipline required that people don't think applies in arts. Would you agree with that?
No. They sort of imagine that we're kind of sitting there on our balcony,
having wine, listening to the ocean,
beautifully dressed
in Benoni. And the words just fall on your lap.
And they're just flowing from the muse. No, sitting in my dressing gown. In my dressing gown usually until 1, as my son says, winning at life, Mom. Winning at life.
Hashtag winning at life. You touched on the fact that Misconception was a different direction to Things Unseen. Misconception, I would pretty much highlighted what it's about. I don't want to give the story away because I want people to go get the book. Things Unseen, what's that about?
So that is a psychological thriller and it's much darker. But I mean, as everybody said, my sort of bizarre sense of humor comes through in all the books. And it's about Emma, her mother. She comes home, she finds out that her mother has been brutally murdered. She has a very controlling husband. She's got a deadbeat brother, and she's got her ex-lover, Craig, who comes out from Britain, and it's kind of like, who did it? Did the gardener do it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
Speaking of dun, 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 out of the 3 books, we'll speak about Delilah Trending, which is, it already came out on the 1st of April.
Yes, it's out. It's out.
Okay, so it's Misconception, Things Unseen, Delilah Trending. If you had Steven Spielberg call you and say, hey, Pamela, I want to make your book a movie, which book would you be hoping he's talking about?
That is like choosing one of your children, Anele.
You know you've got a favorite. Carry on.
Ish. It would probably, it's always your latest one.
Also, Delilah Trending.
Delilah now trending.
Delilah now trending. Do you know why I like that? Because I don't think South Africans make enough movies about where it involves high school children. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's like that element of bullying and all of that. I'm happy.
Although they're at the end of prep school, hey, she's only going into high school.
Just school in general. Even the fact that prep school is primary school, ne?
Yes.
This is your Zimbabwe coming out, because in South Africa it's called primary school. But you see what I'm saying? I don't think South Africans make enough movies that are of normal people and schools are involved. Do you know what I'm saying?
When you are actually, this is all for you to look forward to, but yeah, when you're in that whole, it's almost like you've gone back to school as well.
Yeah. Okay. We'll be right back. I know you're going to come back. I know. There isn't that, hey?
Maybe it's making the Sunday Times awards
The Alan Payton Awards, I think they are.
Yes.
Oh.
Thank you for that. I'd forgotten that. I always forget like the really important things. I think like I was the only Penguin author not to make it last year. Just putting it out there.
Oh my word! Look at you.
But it didn't worry me. I was at the ceremony.
Hello, you must always be different. Who wants to be the same?
Exactly.
Who wants to be the same?
But they couldn't keep me away. I'm still there. It's like,
less
you're not invited.
traveled.
Why are you here?
Why are you here?
Why are you here tweeting?
Let's talk about the book that came out on the 1st of April. Not
April
an April
Fool's Day.
Yeah, nice. So similar. Delilah now trending. Touches on a lot of things. Touches on about bullying. Touches about the stigma that you face being a divorced parent. There's even a part where you're in the principles. I say you because
You think I'm Delilah?
exactly. When I read these things, the main female character, I immediately take you and I put it in there. So forgive me. You're in the principal's office, and your daughter has fought back, and she didn't become head girl, and there's an entire thing. But they say that maybe your daughter's angry because it's right. So there's like that stigma as well. You're not divorced. Where do you get that from? Do you take from your friends, where you like see the things that they go to or the things that people say to them?
I think also, obviously, I grew up in a very religious household.
Irish Catholic.
Irish Catholic on one side, French Catholic on the other. So very, very religious. And divorce was a huge stigma. Nobody would ever admit to it. And obviously I've had a couple of friends who've gone through quite messy divorces, and I've seen how it's affected them. It's a very hard journey, and I think, women take the brunt of it. I think,
of course,
for it. Yeah.
because society is built to blame divorce on the woman. It's like you didn't do enough to like, even if it doesn't matter what he was doing, like you should have made him be a better man. He's just like, but guys, I have things to do.
Work harder.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, surely we were there getting married together. Why is it all of a sudden my job to make sure equally as hard is bullying? And I'm glad you touched on it because. Also because somebody's not getting beaten up, we assume that you're not being bullied because people are just using words. And I see a lot of words and like passive aggression that you put in the book quite well. Where do you get that from?
Well, I think that was just from observing my own children, seeing, what happened with them. My daughter, it's based on 12-year-old girls. My daughter gave me a lot of input. She was one of my beta readers. I had to sort of give her the sanitized version of the manuscript to read because it was like all these sex scenes and whatever. So I took all of those out and I gave her the manuscript to read, and she So I had put things in like Facebook, and she was like, Mom, we don't care about Facebook. We're on Instagram.
Oh, we've moved on.
So then I had to...
Then when you got to Instagram, everybody was off. They were on Snapchat.
And then we're on Snapchat.
And now they're back onto Instagram.
Yeah, so it's very confusing.
Okay.
But yeah, so she gave me a lot of insight. But, you know, also I can see, you know, you see the things that happen. And I think what's interesting is, I think as parents, it's not just about, oh, my child is being bullied. You also worry, is my child the bully? And that is also very hard. It's hard for a parent, I think, to accept that, because we all think our little darlings are absolutely perfect. So to have that insight, to think, my child actually, and the bullies need help equally.
Yes. So how does character development in a book differ from character development in a TV show, like a Generations?
Girl, you ask such hard questions.
Really? But you're smart enough.
Am I?
You're great. Go, you great. No one is great and not smart. I read the stereotypes, okay?
Oh, thank you for that. All right, let me think of the answer for that. Character development. I think with a book, you're with the book a lot longer. You can take your time. We often have to make, you've got to, you know, just write that character study very quickly. And then obviously you have a long time on a soapie for a character to develop. And the actor, you know, brings a lot to the character as well. So it's sort of a process that happens. I think with a book, you can indulge yourself.
Okay.
And you can change your mind a million times. You know, we don't have that luxury, and especially with soapies, you've got to be quick. You've got to make the right decision. It's more pressurized, I think, in that sense.
In Misconception, there was a time when your boss, who you don't like, is like saying your scripts are sucking big time. So you're gonna have to do something. But then you also touched on the fact that you're a drama student, so you're used to rejection. What's the worst review you've ever received for anything that you've written? Oh, there you go.
Because, you know, we only ever remember our terrible reviews.
Of course.
I wrote a play. It was the first play I wrote for the Grahamstown Festival with a friend, and it was kind of a comedy thing. And I still remember the critics, the dubious talents of these two female comedians. And I can't remember, I think it was in 1997. So I have remembered that review, and if that person's watching, look at me now. And you know what, though? The best thing about this was that the other people at the Grahamstown Festival, and I forget who it was, somebody got a bad review, and they challenged it. They went, we don't like your review. Send somebody else to actually review our play.
So you hang out with people who review reviews.
But how cool was that? Whereas I was like, okay, no, I am dubious. I'm really dubious. Okay, I hear you.
So does that, okay, fine, because you still remember it from 1997, so it means it sticks with you. So when you're writing, is that like in the corner of your head, like, let me show you who's dubious, let me show you?
No, because I'm filled with inner peace now, Anele, because I meditate.
Okay.
Can't you just see that inner peace?
I see it.
I am full of inner peace, okay?
Okay, we hear you. What does success look like if you're an author, like literary success? Besides, you know, the Sunday Times giving you things, is it the money? Is it contentment for yourself? Is it being able to know that even if you die, you've left 3 things that can never be erased?
I think it is that. I think it is a legacy. I mean, if you make money out of fiction in South Africa, it's a happy accident. In fact, fiction all over the world, it's a happy accident. But I think the joy of being published, for me, it was I had found my tribe.
Oh.
My son, Liam, was like, Mom, you're in nerd heaven, I can see. And I was like...
Nerd heaven.
Nerd heaven.
I'm going to use that. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to give you a question and you're going to answer it as soon as we come back. Whose book would you like to write like an autobiography of? Because you say I asked difficult questions, so now I'm going to give you a chance. Let's say someone calls you like Martha Stewart and says, hey, Pam, can you help me write my book? Who's that one person you're dying to get a call from? You will get that answer after this. Pamela Power is now upset with me because I asked her an honest question. And now she's like, but I don't know this. I asked her, because she's a writer and she's got 3 books already. So I wanted to know whose book would she like to help co-write. Let's say Barack Obama called and say, hey, yo, Pamela, help me write my book.
And in fact, they have just got a fantastic deal.
$60 million deal. Yes, I know that. Because you know what?
We're with the same publisher, you see.
Oh.
I didn't get a $60 million deal, though, funny enough.
You weren't in the White House.
I wasn't the president.
We need from the White House that you do not have, sadly.
Can you imagine sitting down with Barack and Michelle?
Because if you're writing their book, you spend a lot of time with them. You go into their house.
I would be like Joe Biden, though. I'd be like, me with Michelle and Barack. Me with Malia. Oh, that would be so cool. Okay, now it's very confusing. You know what I actually think I would like to do is write my family's story.
So follow your family around.
Because I found out things about, obviously because my parents have both passed on, you find out things and you wish that you knew more.
When they were around.
Yeah, so they were very offhand about the things that they told me, and sort of towards the end of their lives, my mother said, which I'd never known, that her father, who was French originally, was a manager on the sugarcane farms, and he used to work with a lot of Indian workers, and he could speak fluent Hindi, and used to hang out on the porch with all his workers in Durban. So things like that. Like, I would love to track the family history. And then my father, his dad was a sort of a land commissioner in Ireland, and after, because my father was much older than my mum, so he was 45 when I was born. So my grandfather was responsible for giving land back to the Irish.
I was about to be like, your grandfather was the original hashtag bring back the land.
Bring back the land. But isn't that so weird that I land up working on a black show where I feel very at home? And in fact, when we went to Ireland, we went to Wales for my nephew's wedding, then we popped across to Ireland. And when we got there, there was something, I hadn't been back for years, and it was the first time my children went back, and there was something ancestral. There was something like my ancestors are here. Ireland is very mystical. It's very the fairies and the this and the that. There was something very deep there. And also the chaos of my family. You know, like everybody sort of got very irritated with us in England because we were loud and noisy in the restaurant.
You were Irish.
We were Irish. We were South African. We were African. We were all over the place, you know. And when we got to Ireland, we didn't know the address of our hotel. Now, if that had been in England, they probably would have been so irritated with us. But the 2 taxi drivers drew up, and they were like having a conversation because all of us were in 2 taxis, and they were totally unfazed by the fact that none of us knew
where
we were going.
Okay. Touching into your family life that you want to write books about, your
I mean, after I've done Michelle and Barack.
Okay, of course.
Because I'd like to be their beta reader.
Yeah, Barack's watching this and he agrees.
He knows.
You know, he just, please come through.
And Michelle and I, we like this. Like you and I. Like that.
Yeah, it's like a threesome, I see it. So what's your family life like now? You know, so you've got a husband and you've got the kids, and what's the routine like? Let's say I'm peeking into your house at 8 o'clock in the morning and everyone's getting ready. What's happening?
8 o'clock in the morning, everyone's already at school, my
Really?
love. You've got unfortunate things to look forward to. We're up at 10 to 6. I'm cooking breakfasts and again, trying to think, what do I put in these damn lunch boxes?
Okay.
The children, the teen is moaning. He doesn't want to go to school. Can he not give up school now? No. The daughter's much more sort of bouncy because the sort of sheer horror of adolescence hasn't hit yet. We're still waiting for it. I can see it over the horizon, but it hasn't hit.
How old is your daughter?
She is 13.
Okay.
So they're moments, but we're still at primary school. And so she's sort of more the sunshine in the house. So we're all getting ready. Then I make them sit down and do a 3-minute meditation with me.
Oh, you're that mom.
I am that mom.
Okay.
And to focus everybody for the day. And then off they go. My husband takes them to school.
Is your husband meditating as well?
No, my husband is so not meditating. Okay. He's ignoring the meditation.
Okay. In fact, his meditation is when you guys are meditating, so you don't have to talk to him.
No, he says when he runs, he meditates. Like, don't make him meditate. He finds the guy's voice very irritating because I love, but it's a meditation that you do on an app. obviously.
Obviously, 2017 meditation. We here.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're doing that, and then he takes them to school, and then I'm in front of my computer in my dressing gown, no makeup, hair unbrushed, looking awesome. You know, people think my life is so glamorous. But
Besides home in your pajamas writing, where's the other place where you feel, you know, at
love
best?
books. Love books.
Okay.
In my chair in the corner at a book launch, tweeting.
Okay.
Coffee, wine, you know. Those
Wine,
are my...
more wine.
And my daughter's a big swimmer. So we spend, and that is when we listen to your radio show as well, we spend a lot of time in the car taking her to things. So, yeah.
Daughter and son, what's the one lesson that you learned from your parents that you want to make sure that you pass on to them?
Unconditional love. Very definitely.
For themselves, for each other, for the person.
But definitely for yourself. You've got to start with yourself. You have got to be kind to yourself. You cannot be kind to anybody else. First, kindness is such a huge thing. We don't realize it. You know, as I've got older, I've understood that kindness, like we can make jokes, we can rip people off, but at the end of the day, still be kind. Kindness is huge to yourself, and then you'll be able to be kind to everybody else. But I think that unconditional love thing, you know, both my kids are actually quite sort of high achievers, and I always want them to know that I don't love them because of their achievements. I love them because they're amazing people. You know, they are my kids, and yes, they're going to mess up, and you still love them. They're going to fail at things, you still love them.
I don't love you because of your achievements. I love you because you're who you are.
And I think, you know, what's really important, and I am going to do the mommy thing with you now and give you advice, your old auntie, is that our kids today have got so many activities. We are expected to go and watch them doing things. I don't go and watch everything my children do. I'm not there at every single gala and whatever, because sometimes, and especially when time is short, and you understand this because you're also trying to achieve balance, balance. Sometimes it's more important for your child to come and sit on the bed and talk to you for 30 minutes than you watching them doing something. Sometimes it's more important just to be with each other than to be rushing around to every activity.
You remind me of a friend of mine posted this picture on Facebook. She'd gone to her child's school and she saw this sign up for the first time, and it's a stop sign, and it says stop. If you're a parent dropping off your child's assignment that they left at home, sports equipment that they left at home, or whatever, do not worry about it. Your child will manage. They are in here coping to deal with life, with them having forgotten something. They'll remember it tomorrow. Go home.
Wow.
And I was just like, that is so true, because I remember a lot when I was growing up where parents are there during the day and they're dropping off, because no, I possibly can't go to swimming without my swimming cap, you know, things like that. And they just said, you know, it's fine. Don't want to like, you know, make
Be
the
the
mistakes.
helicopter parent.
Helicopter parenting.
Hovering around, which we all want to do.
All the time.
You want to smooth the way for your child, and you do need to let them cope.
Are you ever going to write a book on parenting?
I said that to my husband, and he just sort of started humming and walking away. I don't know what that was about.
I think
it was a no.
It was a don't write a book on parenting and don't write a book on marriage.
Yeah.
Because all you're getting from me is a hum. In terms of every character that you have written about in your 3 books and that you're going to, that's still maybe formulating in your head, who do you feel closest to? Who grew you?
Again, that's like, which is my favorite child. I think both Joe and Delilah, but in a way, both of them sort of say things I wouldn't dare say. I'm not sassy enough to get away with the stuff, especially Delilah. Those kind of things, and you know, and the email that Joe sends to her boss, and you know, I would never do. I am a very good convent girl. You know, I would never do that kind of stuff. So I guess it's kind of my
outlet.
Yes, exploring like what I could be if I was let loose.
Complete the sentence for me. The state of South Africa today is.
You know, I tend to be an optimist. So everybody's like, "Oh, look at this," and I'm like, sometimes when things are wrong, we all just need to air our nonsense. The varsity students, the land issue. Let's actually stop talking nonsense about the Rainbow Nation. And I try and do this in Delilah. I'm quite frank about a lot of issues with integration. And let's start having real conversations with each other. And that's why I love Twitter, because we don't pretend on Twitter.
You have to have a very thick skin on Twitter, though.
Although I must say, I think if you go in there with a respectful attitude and a willingness to learn, you can learn so much. I have learned so much for my own writing and on Muvhango and whatever, because I've had to go in there with an open mind. And I mean, Black Twitter are fantastic. If you're ever attacked by racists, I just go, I release you with love to Black Twitter.
To Black Twitter. This is all you. Okay, one more question from my side, and then I have to let you go because you have to go write and stuff.
Yes, I've got to go and issue some scripts.
Okay, is there? So I mean, Delilah's out. Now trend. What? Now on trending. Now on trending.
Delilah now trending.
Delilah now trending. I'm gonna get that right. Delilah now trending. That's out, and you'd like for us to go out and buy it.
Oh, definitely.
If it's not taking too much out of your day, please go and buy that. What's next?
So I'm at the stage where I've written 20,000 words, and I'm going, oh, this is nonsense. Let me write something else.
Scrap that. Of your next one. Do we have a title?
Not yet.
Not yet. But you will come back here and tell us.
And I'm a total oversharer, so I can't actually tell you the entire plot.
Finally, why did the chicken cross the road?
Because it was... I don't know! One more. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because there was organic chicken feed on the other side.
Good enough. Pam, thank you so much for joining us. Listen, because Pam's here, so I'm going to make you a nice deal. If you go to our Twitter pages, it's at Real Talk on 3, or you go to our Facebook pages, you could win yourself an at-home e-voucher to the value of 5,000 Rand.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to enter, though.
No, you're not. Immediate family, friends, all of that stuff, kids, no.
Damn.
But you can enter and you can win it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope that you are feeling lighter and a bit wiser and a bit enlightened. This is our aim. Ciao, ciao.
That's cheeky.